It's particularly interesting that you had to write that during that first year of
Mhm.
your child's life. I can imagine that was a bit frenetic.
Yeah.
And for because for right now, and maybe this is before we dive in exactly into more content, because so right now I'm in the middle of writing a book. I'm about 55,000 words in, and I have the time aside from my regular job, but the last 3 months I've done F all, and I don't know why, and that's why in the first bit of our conversation, I really have the motivation, and the people I've been researching, I've been interviewing, and researchers I've spoken to, and all these things, like we're all really pumped about the book and about the topic, et cetera, et cetera. But I just can't get myself back in the chair enough because I feel like every time I sit down, sometimes I'm jumping out of a plane at 25,000 feet without a parachute. And so I was wondering if there's any research that I'm sure you thought about it during writing your book and having to get up and take care of a kid and write the book and da, 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 da.
Mhm.
And I was wondering if you had any prescription that you think I could deploy.
Yeah, two things. One is just write what you're excited about in that moment. As I was, a long time ago doing my dissertation for my PhD, and then having flashbacks as I was writing this book of like, you've got 90,000 words. You got a lot of space to fill and a lot of
Right.
opportunity to write. And you can feel so overwhelmed by this huge goal and the blank paper that you're staring at in front of you. Many things to say, actually. So the first is write what you want to write about. So I would go to these parties and be like, oh my God, I just met the craziest person. I just want to make sure I remember all the vivid details about that experience and the fun bits that I learned. And so like that night or the next morning, I would just write it. I don't know where it's going to fit in the book. I'm not really sure how it's going to relate yet to the themes that I want to share, but I just know like this story is interesting and people need to hear it. So I would just write it. And
Okay.
then and I would do that all the time. I have a little bit of science. Oh, I just learned this new thing about science and I really want to put that in the book. I would just write it. And so then it was like having, a folder of 50 puzzle pieces. These are all independent little thoughts. They're nice little puzzle pieces. They're like cool little bits, but they're not a book, right? They're not
Right.
even a point yet. But I had 50 of them. And then you can start to put together a jigsaw puzzle and figure out, well, how do these go together? Do these pieces fit together? And now you don't have 50, but now you have 20. Now you have 20 chunks. And then,
Right.
and you can start to piece it together. And then you've got 30 pages written. Um, so that's what I would do is just like capitalize on your interest. When something is interesting in your brain, then take that moment and just write it down and don't worry about, well, where's it going to go? I'm writing my introduction right now. So, but this isn't intro material. Who cares? Like, as
All
you
right.
write it anyway, whatever was the conclusion is going to become the introduction. Somebody who reads it's going to totally reshape your book anyway. So, like, don't you feel beholden to have to approach it linearly?
Okay.
The second thing is where do you find motivation? Again, it's not that you aren't motivated, but sometimes it can feel overwhelming. The big
Yeah.
goal that you have, it can feel overwhelming. And so, in those moments when you are just starting out, or in those times when you're just starting out and you might feel that sense of overwhelm, the looking forward to like, how much more do I have to do is going to feel overwhelming. But take a different perspective. Look back. How much have you accomplished? How many chunks do you have written?
Yeah.
When you look back versus look forward on goal progress, especially when you're in those early stages, or in other cases, when somebody is less committed or it's something they don't know that they have the expertise to do, looking back is more advantageous than looking forward because of that feeling of overwhelmingness that can come. So if you're starting to feel like, I don't think I can do this, that's when you should look back and prove to yourself you can because you have. Look at what you have done right now. And that can
Yeah.
take you out of that sort of debilitating anxiety about and second guessing about whether you have what it takes to go that long distance. Um, there was a third thing that I was going to say. I don't know. Do you want to riff on any of that?
Yeah, I think that's great. I think because overwhelm, I think, is what I feel the most. Because sometimes I'll sit down for a new chapter and a new part I really want to write. And it's not just writing it, it's that I realize I've got to take all the little bits of information that I found in this book and that article and that study and this story of someone really interesting, and to synthesize it. I feel like someone's doing, open skull surgery on me right now, and it's that difficult. And so, yeah, I think that's maybe it. That something I'm excited about, and then just and then just write it. I think it's taking that regulator off of the
Mhm.
editor while I'm trying to be the creator.